What's good, everybody? It's your boy Everson. So today we're talking about what it's actually like when you switch over from a major carrier to a prepaid or mobile virtual network operator, and the things that you really don't know about until you're already in it. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So yeah, since I've been covering and using prepaid carriers for the last 2 years now, I've had the pleasure of being able to test out networks on all three, kind of four now, of the big carriers. There's T-Mobile, there's AT&T, there is Verizon, and Dish is kind of a fourth. And I've had experiences with prepaid services that run on each network, some of them that even split between the two networks to give you kind of a hybrid coverage. And I can definitely tell you that there are certain things that I realized after I had already switched over. Now, let me just go ahead and explain what mobile virtual network operators are by explaining what a mobile network operator is. And basically, the big four are the major carriers that they own their own infrastructure, their own towers, and they operate to their customer base. They offer plans, and those are the AT&Ts and T-Mobiles and the Verizon that you know about. Mobile virtual network operators, they do not own their own infrastructure. Therefore, they rent a certain spectrum or space on that tower, and then they at a discounted rate, and then they provide service to their client base, and that's how they make money. And they're essentially their own company. I left some links in the description of this video with some of my recommendations for certain carriers. If you click on those, it'll take you right to their site, and they'll hook you up with the latest and greatest deals. Mobile operators will even create their own prepaid carriers, such as, well, Visible is to Verizon, Metro is to T-Mobile, and, well, I think Cricket is to AT&T, etc. So these are definitely, there's a market here, and that's why that these companies exist. Now, these companies, these mobile virtual network operators or prepaid companies, have been growing in popularity, and for quite good reason. I mean, it's lower cost, and I've actually went over to a prepaid carrier originally for cost-saving measures. I went from paying $85 per month to paying $25 per month, and that's a 70% savings. So it's worked out quite well for me, and also you actually get what you essentially think of when you want to pay for a service. You get talking and texting and an allotment of data. That's what I think of when I say, hey, I want a mobile service. I want a mobile data plan, or I want a cell phone plan. Now, when you go with the big guys, you do get certain perks that you didn't necessarily think you wanted, but you get them, right? So let's talk about the expenses that you actually get when you sign up for a major carrier. So you get the service, the call, text, and also the data. Then you also, built into that payment or that bill, is the salaries of the stores. You get to pay for executive bonuses. You get to pay for bundled perks that you really weren't looking for in the first place, but hey, they're nice to have, I guess. And FYI, those bundled services are on a more than likely on a profit sharing split between, like, let's just say they offer you Disney for, included within a more expensive plan. There's a split there that they're sharing the profit, right? They give it to a discounted rate, and then they split the profit. So you're technically still paying for it, even though it's a bundled perk. It's built in within the plan. But now it's time to talk about some of the things that you did not expect to occur, but these are now the reality when you transfer or port over to a prepaid carrier. Now, the first thing is that, well, signal bars mean absolutely nothing in your new reality. Now, a signal bar is the bars or cell signal strength indicator that basically tells you how close you are to a tower that provides you your service. Now, back in the day, that would mean that if you had a 1 bar, you'd be very far away from a tower or the closest tower that's servicing your service, and then you'd have poor service. With a prepaid carrier, not so much. So there's certain things that you have to think about when you're considering dealing with a prepaid carrier. Now, most prepaid carriers actually do run on a prioritize and deprioritize fluctuation. Now, basically what that means is that since this is a prepaid network and they're basically getting service from a major carrier, whenever the network does get too busy, let's just say I'm on AT&T prepaid or, Cricket. when the service gets busy or congested on the major carrier that I'm a part of, a lot of times I, as a Cricket customer, will be deprioritized. So even though I'm in a signal where I should have plenty of bars, and plenty of speed, which means I should have great reception, because of the activity or the traffic that's near to me, that's going on around me, I now have a slowdown or a less than excellent experience. Now, these are typically still fast enough to visit normal web pages, but you may just experience a slowdown in response. Video playback may be a little bit slowed down, etc. And speaking about video playback, secondly, on top of that is no matter how many bars that you have, a lot of these services do cap out video to about 480. So you get standard resolution. Now, basically what that means is if you try to watch HD or full HD or 2K while you're playing on YouTube, Netflix, etc., you will likely have a compromised experience, a lot of buffering and things like that. So yeah, those are just some of the things that you need to be unaware of, that the signal bar strength does not immediately indicate the type of service or the quality of service that you will have. So while text messaging calls typically work the same, as far as sending like high quality media that is impacted by your internet connection as well, those things may be slowed down, as well as data speeds and also video. The next thing is that if you do want to have a full experience, you may possibly want to consider signing up for a VPN. Now, a VPN is a virtual private network. It essentially is a encryption between your device and the service provider to not let them know exactly what you're doing. It should give you data. Now, the reason that you want to have this or consider having it is because certain prepaid carriers, they actually cap the speed on certain things that you can do, such as like the video streaming that I was talking about. Once these carriers understand that you're trying to view Netflix or YouTube, they reduce the speeds so that you're only able to get about 480. If you go above that, you'll still be able to stream, but it'll buffer a lot. It's not optimized, right? But if you turn on a VPN and utilize a VPN, it actually encrypts that data. Your carrier won't know if you're trying to download an app or trying to watch a video. They don't know what you're doing with that data. Therefore, they don't enact those restrictions that come with watching video. And this not only does that apply to watching videos, but this also applies to downloading from certain sources as well. I tried to download a certain movie or actually TV show from Hulu once, and it was very slow. Then I turned on my VPN. Excellent speeds immediately, almost double the speeds. So yeah, I mean, definitely consider using a VPN. I use NordVPN. I'll leave a link to them in the description. You can click on that link; it'll take you right over to Nord. Very fast, and you can use it on up to about 6 or 7 devices. I use it all the time. Next thing I want to talk about is domestic roaming. Now, domestic roaming is the ability for you to be locally here in the United States, and then your ability to use another carriers like towers to get service. Now, in the United States, we have the big four, like I stated, but there is a roaming agreement between these big four that allows, if I'm on T-Mobile and there's no service for T-Mobile, no towers available, I can domestically roam and get, service where there's a gap. And this really applies mostly to people who travel a lot for work, maybe like truck drivers, people who are always on the road. But if for some reason there's a gap where you can't get service, typically the big carriers will allow you to use AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile's and Dishes, and everybody uses their towers to fill in the gaps and have a complete network. You don't always have access to that, depending on which carrier that you go with, your prepaid carrier. I know that Mint Mobile doesn't support this. Although Mint Mobile does have a pretty vast 5G network, it doesn't always have service everywhere. Now, I mean, it's just something to consider. It's just a reality of the plan. So if you're a truck driver or you're a frequent traveler and you have concerns about that, I mean, check the plan of the carrier and check the terms and conditions to see if they actually have domestic roaming available. And they'll pretty much highlight it if they do. And lastly is that customer service is kind of iffy. So a lot of these companies, they do offer customer service, and they have their own perks about it, right? So Visible has a 24-hour chat. You could talk to somebody no matter what time you have the issue. You can get in contact with somebody, and if it escalates, you can schedule a call after that. Mint Mobile has a dedicated call line which you can call for customer service during their hours of operation that pretty much take place within normal business hours, early in the morning to late at night. But you can't. I don't think you get anybody around like 3 a.m. or anything like that. So they each offer their own tier of customer service, but there's limitations to that since they don't have a direct relationship with the towers. If there's a signal issue at an outage or something like that, you're pretty much left at the mercy of whenever of hoping that they have information from the bigger carrier to say, hey, we're working on a technical issue, there's an outage right now, etc. And also, sometimes there can be porting issues that I've seen some people talk about. But typically, they're very nice, they're very helpful because, hey, customer service is a big thing, and you typically don't have a long wait time. At least with Mint Mobile, you don't. But, when you have those huge outages, you're pretty much left keeping tabs on two carriers, your own personal carrier and the bigger company that they have with. T-Mobile had an outage. It lasted for a couple hours. When I checked Down Detector for Mint Mobile, everybody said, hey, things are good. But when I checked T-Mobile was down and people did have outages in T-Mobile. And you might not know that. So you kind of have to keep tabs on two services. Now, at the end of everything that I just stated, with all the compromises that I do have to make, do I still push and advocate for prepaid carriers? I definitely do. These compromises that we have to make are something just to think about if you're thinking about switching. But yeah, I still do think that the cost savings are excellent. And hey, where else can you save 70% on your bill, right? I left some links in the description of this video with some of my recommendations for certain carriers. If you click on those, it'll take you right to their site, and they'll hook you up with the latest and greatest deals. All right, guys. Well, until next time, I'm Everton, and I do videos Everton's way. Peace.